Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been coming to Elite Camp now for several years, 6 years. Yeah, it's awesome. Love it here. Love the country too. We've had some great presentations yesterday, so like no pressure today. But I'm not covering strategic stuff today. I'm going to do a deep dive into one of about 50 odd techniques that I'm using to optimize client sites. And so the headline for this is, this piece of work that I'm going to show you today will take you 15 minutes to do. And it will probably make you more money on your website than any other 15 minutes of work that you will do this year. And nobody believes me when I say that. They say, bullshit, right? You're probably thinking, no. But it's true. And that's what this deck is about. I'm going to fucking prove it to you. And the first thing is a little teaser slide. Have a think what those money amounts might be, because I'm going to show you later what they are and why they're like that. But first of all, a shout out. Some name checks, because the work I'm showing you today has been about 20 years in coming and about 5 years working with these guys on all the data models in GA. There's a lot of data that's useless, and we've been playing around with it and using it on client sites. So Charles, who's here today, and Peter, who's not, really instrumental in making this work happen. Wouldn't have happened without them. We did it together. And this is what I'm going to cover today about optimizing device flows, setting out what the problem is, what is it I'm banging on about here. And we're going to talk about some groundwork that you should put in place before you do any modeling on your sites. And then I'm going to show you how to segment in Google Analytics, and then how to prioritize your qualitative research using that data. Like if you know what devices aren't working, then you can test them and find out what the hell is wrong, right? Okay? And most importantly out of all of this, nobody wants to spend lots of time doing this. So I'll show you not only how to work out this model and what your site is like, but more importantly, how to automate it so you never need to do this fucking work ever again. You can run it every week and see if people have broken shit again on your website. But let me go back in time, back to the year 2000, the dot-com era. And this was when I worked on my first commercial website for a company called John Lewis, who owned department stores and a huge supermarket in the UK. And they had this website called John Lewis Now. Has anyone ever heard of it? No. Because it didn't fucking get launched, because it was a pile of dog shit. And the reason for this is it was too slow to run on a modem. It worked fine in the office, but no customer would ever be able to use it. And it also used dynamic HTML, which was only available on a limited amount of browsers. They spent £1 million fucking pounds on this, and they got nothing. Nothing. And the thing is, you think, oh, well, that was okay. It was the dot-com era. There was loads of money. People were trying things out, experimenting. That's fine. But this is 18 years later. So what's the pinnacle? What's the kind of things I'm working with now? They ought to have really improved. What about the kind of landing page experiences that my clients hand out 18 years later to their customers are like this? Another pile of fucking dog shit 18 years later. Why are we still doing this crap? This is a landing page experience, allegedly. This is the most popular resolution these guys use and where most of the revenue comes from. Does anyone have any idea why this company didn't secure further funding? Go figure. But this is terrible, you know? And they didn't care about this. They didn't give a shit, and they didn't give a shit about their company, and that's what happened to them. They died. Darwinism, fantastic thing. And what about big companies? They ought to be able to get it right. So I'm standing at a cold train platform in February, and I see an advert from British Airways, an amazing picture of the caves in Funchal, Madeira, Portugal. I want to go there. It looks warm. And so I type in the landing page, and I land here. I'm like, oh, that's not very good. Where's my fucking holiday? Oh, there's a terminal move at London Gatwick. That's really useful. Thank you. No. So I scroll down the page, and about 8 scrolls down the page is this. It sort of looks like the holiday. Yeah, maybe that's it. There's no picture, but I guess. And I click it, and I get this. Holy fuck! What is that? This is a mobile, right? I'm up here. I can't read this stuff, right? And it's on this fucking screen. Can you imagine trying to read this or use this when it's on a phone that size? These guys spent £1.6 million just on building this piece of crap. And then they spent advertising on it, right? They should have put the advertising on billboards underwater so they wouldn't piss anyone off. But the problem with this is that it's just such a simple thing. I mean, let's illustrate what it's like to actually use this with a finger to scale. Right. So these touch targets here are about 2 to 3 millimeters in physical size. They're too small to actually tap, even with a finger, never mind a thumb. And a lot of people are thumb dominant. You must design for thumbs as the lowest common denominator. That's why a lot of apps now have the menus down the bottom, not up the top, because your thumb can't stretch to the burger menu at the top. It's because of the way people hold phones. Listen to Luke Wroblewski, and he will explain this. But what it looks like is you've got this giant piece of meat, like this. Oh, I want the 5-star rating. Let's see if I can get this giant piece of meat to hit the tiny control. And of course it doesn't fucking work. You want to look at the holiday destinations. Good luck using the pagination controls at the top. So all this money was wasted. It's terrible. Are you fucking kidding me? You spent 1.6 million quid on this. It gets worse. If you choose a destination, the button to choose the destination is off the screen. So I can choose these, but there's no CTA, no call to action here. I have to zoom in and out just to use this, never mind the touch controls. Crazy. And here's the worst thing. I'm so angry now, I leave. So here's a 4C fucking pop-up asking me for some feedback. Oh, we'd like some feedback. Yeah, can you give us some feedback? And I'm trying to work out what this line of copy is. We'd something your feedback. And in my brain, I imagined it was saying, we'd like to take your feedback up the fucking ass. Because I would have loved to click on the button saying, yes, please, for that one. But all I get is a button that says, no, thanks. Because it's off the fucking screen again. So they can't even use their expensive survey tool to let me tell them that their website is shit. So I did a presentation, and the British Airways guy who designed this was in the audience, and he said, yeah, you're absolutely right. It was a pile of shit. We're really sorry. Another one, some simple basics that people do not get right in mobile design. A large telco came to me recently and said, here's all our form analytics data. And I said, have you noticed that the most edited field in your entire checkout is the customer's name? And they said, yeah, spelling is terrible these days. And I was like, no, I don't think that's that one. Generally, most people have learned their fucking name and how to spell it at quite an early age. Unless they're a retard, they manage to keep it spelling it the same fucking way the rest of their lives. And they were like, so we don't know what it is. And what it is, You got the fucking spell checker on. That's why. So people are having to re-edit their names from what you changed it to back to what it really was. And that cost them a lot of money, but it's a tiny thing. Here's another one. We don't want you to put in your phone numbers using numbers. No, we'd like you to spell it phonetically using fucking letters, which is why we have given you an alphanumeric keyboard for putting in your telephone number. Idiots. And it's so simple to do, but it makes me so fucking angry. This is my friend Michael Ogard. He gets very angry about this stuff just like me. Fucking flames of hell, this stuff. And it's so avoidable. And if any of you ever came and asked me, who's my hero? Who do I look up to? Who do I worship the ground that he walks on? Is this fucking guy. Because he's taught me more about forms and mobile optimization than anyone on the planet. And you haven't read any of his stuff and you're trying to do CRO, then you're a fool. Go away tomorrow and read everything. Read his books, and his website is lukew.com. And there's a video here. This will be the best 3 hours that you spend looking at mobile design, UX, and conversion. And this guy is one of my secrets. I do better work because of him, and you will too. Get to know him. But the fundamental problem gnawing away at the heart of this is there are a hierarchy of very, very simple needs for a website. Does it fucking work on customer devices? If it doesn't, then all the rest of this doesn't matter. Does it load and run quickly, whether it's an app, a mobile website? Can customers use it? Pure usability. Are they able to operate it? And this one at the top, hardly anyone pays attention to this. They're not going to read your fucking brilliant copy if it's too fucking small to read, right? So if customers can't actually read the content, then all that marketing stuff, it's just fucking whiffle. It won't work. You have to put this foundation in place for any of your CRO or marketing efforts to work. You miss it out. It's a foundational problem. So it's device compatibility, performance, usability, legibility. The rest is easy shit. And if you don't pay attention to this, you end up, through all your testing and optimization efforts, burning rubber in the car park of user experience. Everyone goes there, yeah, we're going to do this. And they burn the tires, and there's smoke, and there's light, and everyone has a great time, and music is pounding. There's just one problem. They're still in the fucking car park at the end of the night, and they haven't fucking gone anywhere, and they have no tires left. This is the problem. You know, it feels like you're making progress. You're doing all this stuff. It feels like effort is happening, but you're just going round in circles and laying down rubber. The problem is we all have product defects. We just don't know precisely where they are or how much they're costing us. My clients have them. Your clients have them. If you have a website, you do have these problems. Everyone has these problems. But the problem is you're in denial about precisely what the problems are until you've actually fucking tested what people use. It's just a bullshit assumption. It's like a throwaway statement. Yeah, we test on all the popular stuff. Yeah, our site works on all the mobiles. And if there was, just one thing that people could do, it would really help. And we'll get to that. But what about the call center? Why don't we hear about these bugs? What if 5 people call the call center? Someone was talking about people calling up because the website was so slow yesterday. If people are calling up because the website's so slow, it means it's really fucking slow, okay? Because what if one person calls? Or what if nobody calls? If nobody calls, it does not mean the site is working perfectly. It just means people can't be asked to call you. So when I uncover a problem on a website, I might see a bug or, it's a kind of rendering issue. The developers maybe have made a mistake, right? But customers don't see it the same way as you do. You work in the industry, right? You have a different perspective. the visceral, emotional reaction from a customer to these broken things is much the same as if bad shit happened in retail. And that's the equivalent. The equivalent of these things is if you're walking through a store and you see dog shit on the floor. You're thinking, what does this say to me, a customer? It says, we don't care that there's dog shit on the floor. You can fucking walk around the dog shit because we don't care enough to pick it up. So the message that you give people subconsciously on your site is, we don't care if our site is shit. Fuck you. That's the problem. You're not intending to do that, but they don't sort of assume your developers need a little bit of brushing up work. They say, this site is shit. The site is broken. It doesn't work. If you go into a store, you're not forgiving if the toilets don't work or the lights don't work. You know, you just don't go back in the store again. And this is the problem with the call center. It's like a giant fucking diaper that absorbs all the customer shit and only a tiny bit leaks out the sides. This is what KPIs do for you. They act as a gravity well to suck all the truth out into this, hold it in the call center so it never escapes. It never has the velocity to escape, which is why it's a really good idea to continually send your staff to the call center. When I worked at Belron, I sent my staff every month for a day to the call center. They said, how long are we going to do this for? I said, until it stops being fucking useful. It's never stopped. It's still going on. So it helps that stuff. They're often designed to bury bugs. They're hard to categorize and reproduce. Oh, sorry, we weren't able to reproduce that problem. And that just means fuck you internally. But the thing is that the costs are huge of this stuff not working. And the effort to find them and remove them is actually quite low. And although it's common to see a bug hunter approach for security, if you're a hacker, you can earn money by finding security bugs in products. These companies should be offering bounties to people like us to find these bugs in these websites, because some of them are worth, tens of millions of pounds a year. But it does point out everyone needs a process for finding and resolving defects. Customers won't fucking call you up. They are not the canary in the coal mine of your user experience. You don't say to people, you build a car, well, if people die, then we'll fix it. So you need this, and it must be a proactive thing. You don't fix it after the event. You try and make sure it's not in there in the first place. But what if cars were like websites? Then we would have been responsible for tens of thousands of deaths in the last few years because the quality of the stuff that we're building on the web is crap. And yet this stuff is mission critical for these companies. If it goes wrong, it can have the same impact as large-scale car recalls. It's costly. It damages your brand. But what did car manufacturers do with all this shit? Maybe there's a lesson that people building websites can learn off them. Yes, they are, because people used to die. This is a Finnish car factory in the 1940s. Dirty, smelly, dangerous, lots of injuries, lots of health problems. And now we got this one. There's no humans in this factory. It's completely automated. But this isn't the thing that I like about them. It's things like Kaizen, Six Sigma, Lean, all these methodologies that are around removing defects, improving the quality of the product, getting capacity up, agility, flexibility. Does this stuff sound familiar and important in web design? It's true. And they do this because there are risks attached to these things. Get it wrong, people die. Get it wrong, cars get recalled. Get the design of the car wrong, nobody buys it. And this is the problem. There is an impact because there's a link between these things. And the same is true on your website and the quality of how it works. And so you should learn from this stuff. They have methodologies to stop you making these mistakes. But the truth is, there's just one thing, only one thing, that would make a difference to this. And that's that instead of talking about this shit, that you actually prove it. So when people say, we test on the popular browsers, prove it. Prove to me what's popular and show me how you test, because that's where the problem is most of the time. So in terms of doing this device flow optimization, there's a bit of basic groundwork. And there's some sanity checks here. I'm not going to go through them all because they're included in the deck, and you can give them to whoever is going to do the Google Analytics work after the conference. And it's got a complete checklist in there. But one of the most important things in that checklist is if you have not audited your Google Analytics configuration. Because Charles and I have looked at, coming up for 500 odd configurations in the last few years, and 95% of them were broken. They were recording the wrong data, right? You know, it's like an out-of-the-box piece of software. You have to set it up, right? People think, Google Analytics is free. I don't need to do anything. Yeah, just like your car. You don't need to put oil or petrol in it. It's amazing, right? And then you fucking break down, or the speedo doesn't work. This is the problem. Data collection in the life cycle of data within your company is the only place, if you get it wrong, is guaranteed to fuck up everywhere else. So if you get this bit wrong, all your data, there's just this flow of bullshit. Bullshit data, bullshit reports, bullshit dashboards, and bullshit executive screens. That's the problem. So later on, Charles and I will be able to give you a pack and a guide and answer any questions about how to get your Google Analytics audited. Very important. And in the deck is a complete guide of all the best self-audit resources on the internet. They're all in there. They're very good. So that's the groundwork. I'm not going to cover all of that, but it's all in the deck. So here's the device experience. So if I'm segmenting the data in a site, looking for stuff, what's my kind of objectives here? What am I looking for? What data should I look at here? You know, can I find devices, models, or browsers that kind of perform really badly? Is there something definitely wrong with them? And where do they suck? Is it that I lose loads of mobile devices on the landing page, or is it somewhere deeper into the site? And then I'm looking for patterns. So really fundamentally, this is all about pattern spotting. So I'm looking for outliers, stuff that's higher than average, lower than averages, places where there are blockages or dropouts in conversion. And we're not looking for precision here. I don't want perfect data here. I just want to know iPhone versus Android. How high is the suck factor? Or how do they compare? And the reason for this is I prefer easy wins for this over really complicated analysis. It's not about details, it's about broad brush stuff. So in terms of segmenting this stuff, all of my life revolves around this model for this work. Now, if you're looking here, this is the model of how you actually split up your Google Analytics data. Right? And this is the way to do it. I've worked this way out. It works for me. Some of you are probably saying, where's Linux? Someone wrote to me the other day, you haven't got Linux in your diagram. That's because it's fucking tiny in the data. This isn't a list of everything you'll find on your site, but for almost every site that I have worked on, these are the most important pieces of data. You might have some slight differences, but the whole point is it's this stuff that will give you the missing money in your website. So I'll walk you through this. So when it comes to mobile device category in Google Analytics, there's only two ways to split it. You've got Apple iOS mobiles and you've got Android mobiles. And underneath that, what you really want is the iPhone models, right? Okay, so you can work out the conversion of an iPhone X versus an iPhone 5. That would be interesting. And for Android, looking at models is sort of interesting, but there's too many of them. So we tend to look at brand or specific hero models, like you'll always find a large amount of Samsung Galaxy devices. So we split mobile devices by the operating system, and for most people, these are the main two. Don't use resolution on Android. You're thinking, what are the resolution of my mobile Android devices? Oh, we have a Galaxy S8, and it'll say, the resolution of this device is 640 by 360. No, it isn't. It's because it's giving you the non-scaled version of the resolution. It's unreliable. You cannot use that data. And if you're splitting Android, you should split by model or brand, and that will give you the most useful data. What about the Apple models? How do I get the Apple models? Well, if you've ever looked in Google Analytics, you'll know, like me, that it's completely fucking broken. The models in GA don't make sense. And there's a long explanation of why this is. It's a security thing to do with Safari. But if you go and look at the Google Analytics resolution on iOS mobiles, you'll find that the resolution here corresponds to the model. So you can roughly work out what your conversion rates are for these different models. And I'll show you why this is important later, because people fuck up something on smaller phones. And that's what we're talking about. When it comes to desktop, you want to split it by Windows and Mac. So we've got Windows here with Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Internet Explorer. And for most people, these are the main four groups. Probably not find much data. And you can safely interrogate resolutions on desktop. So you can work out what kind of desktop, laptop, notebook screens people are running around with. Because that's how I showed you that landing page experience earlier on. I used the GA data to say, this is the popular resolution. What does our site look like in it? Shit. But what about all these millions of browser versions? When we look at Chrome, we have like 900 versions of Chrome. How can we test them all? You don't have to, because the ones that you're looking in there are getting upgraded every day. So by the time you look next week, all the ones that are on version 31.5 will be on version 31.6. So with auto-updating browsers, just test the latest one, not all of them. And for non-auto-updating ones, just test the ones that actually have big traffic and are poorly performing. And then on desktop Mac, you know, there's some Chrome sometimes, but mainly Mac. Most of the browsers now are auto-updating on OS X. So again, just test the latest version of Safari and Chrome if you have volume. You know, but one interesting thing you'll always find when you look in Google Analytics is odd stuff like, hey, why do Mac people convert twice as well as Windows people? Ooh, what's that about? Is our Mac experience like way better? And the situation here was the client had 4 times conversion rate for Mac desktop. They said, we need to get our Windows to convert like Macs. But the problem is that this service needs a webcam, right? So why did these laptops convert really well? Because all the Mac laptops have a fucking webcam, and the Windows ones don't, right? But also, this service is a really expensive thing sold to high net worth individuals, which also overlaps with the Mac ownership. So there's 2 reasons that there's a difference in the conversion rate. It's either the device experience is different, or the people, the population behind the devices is different. And sometimes it's both. And that may well be, and that's definitely why in this case Mac converts better, because they've got fucking money and a webcam. No shit, Sherlock. Tablets are harder one in Google Analytics, and you won't really find very much in there. You can work out whether something's an iPad or an iPad Pro. That's it. You don't get model information on anything else. And Windows tablets don't surface any models, so good luck with that one. Thank you, Google. But that's the model that you can end up with, and it's taken a long time to work this out because there's a load of other stuff that you can look at. But I'm telling you now, it's not worth your while. I spent ages looking at all the bullshit data in here, and this is the stuff that counts. So if you want to know how to do this, the 15-minute model recipe has been written up into an internet article on Medium. Step-by-step guide. It's really easy. Everyone can do it. Loads of people have completed it already and already found bugs and lots of missing money in their site. So get on and do it and tell me what you find. So the first step in the article is to get this custom report. Right? It's got a whole load of data. You can drill down into all the data model that I showed you earlier on is contained inside this custom report. So all you literally do is get the Excel sheet that's there, the blank Excel sheet, and that custom report, and all you do is you fill in the blanks, right? Copy, paste. And the spreadsheet will do the calculations for you, and it will tell you where to look. But rather than showing you the whole process, which is, going to take 15 minutes to do for every site, like the best cookery programs, we say, here's one I made earlier. So I'm going to show you some real data here. So here's an example from a filled-in spreadsheet for a client. What you can see here is, look at these. This is the user e-com conversion rate, right? I don't like session-based conversion rates, and neither should you. So I use users divided by transactions to get the user e-com CR, and it's a far better indicator. But what's going on there? Why would Android mobiles be half the conversion of iOS? Is it because it's a socioeconomic factor? No, it's because it's broken and has 13 bugs on it. Okay, so we fixed the 13 bugs and the conversion rate's almost the same now. Go figure. And see all that money on the right-hand side, they're getting a lot more than that right now. And it hardly cost them anything. Here's another one. This is on desktop Windows, and you'll see here that on Chrome, 2.62%, but wait a minute, Internet Explorer 11, 1.25%, right? And we're like, what's that? 4 bugs. Only 4 bugs were responsible for all that money difference. Here's another one. When we split by iPhone model, why would it be that iPhone 4s and 5s are almost half the conversion rate of the bigger screen phones? That's because all the fucking navigation is broken and won't fit on the screen, because the guy who designed it only tested it on an iPhone X, which is his phone. Let me give you a bit of advice. The phone that's in your pocket is not a fucking proxy for what customers have. It's your phone, not theirs. So test it on their stuff. And this is a massive problem. I come across this all the time. Smaller screen iPhones, big part of the audience, but terrible, terrible conversion rates. But people only look at the average. They look at the average iPhone, so all of this data is hidden because the average comes out at 1.7. It looks okay. No, it isn't. Look at inside the averages. So once you've gone through that exercise, you can take that diagram and show exactly what percentages are in the flow here. So 18% of all my traffic's desktop, and it converts at 2.2, and then 79% of that's Windows, and 55% of that is Chrome. That one diagram tells me what the major groups are in here in terms of device experiences that I need to care about. And I can immediately see, Android's really small on tablet, and there's only a tiny amount of Firefox, I may not have enough data there. So once you've worked that model out in the spreadsheet, you can then apply it to a diagram like this. And you're able, now's the bit where you can actually prove it. So you worked out what people actually have and what's not working. But there's an extra step here, because what I really want to do is I don't just want conversion rates. I want to have a funnel for all this stuff. So I want an iPhone 4 funnel. I want a Samsung Galaxy S8 and S9 funnel. I want a Windows Chrome funnel. I want an iPad funnel, a Mac Safari funnel. And I can create these. I can build them using segments like these. Device category matches mobile. Operating system matches iOS. Include users who have any user interaction. The page contains checkout step 1. Right, that gets me all the people who get as far as that step. And I can create those, but it takes ages. Hours and hours of boring segmentation waiting for Google Analytics. I got tired of doing this, right? Because I really want these funnels, and they don't exist in Google Analytics. But that funnelization led to a very interesting bit of data. So if you look on here, what we're doing is a yield calculation. People who land on the blog, what's their yield to conversion, right? So what we can see is if people land on the blog, we've got a yield of 0.21. Category pages, oh, look at the brand. The brand pages are a big draw on this site, and you can see they're higher. But what the fuck is happening with product pages? You know, that's the thing that stood out to me. I thought, there's something wrong. So we went and looked at the product pages, and we didn't even need to scroll down the page to find the bug. Because, you know, when you put your finger on an image on a website, right, or you click on an image on a website or hover over it on an e-commerce website, it zooms in so you can move around the product in a zoomed fashion. Well, nobody could scroll the page up because when you put your finger on the image to move the page, it just did the zoom instead. So these guys they spent 40% of the traffic to these product pages was fucking PPC. Napalmed. The whole lot. Wasted. And it took a few minutes to fix. And what did it go up to? Within 1 week, it went to 0.96%. More than 7 times higher conversion. Fucking amazing. So already 1.3 million higher in sales through these pages in a month. We didn't even need to run a test. The money came in the same day we fixed the bug. And it's still coming in. And this was the response. Fuck me, Craig. That simple bug you found is going to earn us more money than all the friggin' A/B tests we ran last year, which, by the way, we haven't seen the ROI on. And I'm not slagging off A/B tests, but imagine if you could do A/B tests and make it work on people's devices that want to give you their money. An irresistible combination. But there's a really interesting effect from this. Doing this quantitative research will prioritize all your qualitative research. So imagine if you don't have to test the whole site, you can just test some parts of it. Imagine if you don't have to test all the devices, you just have to test iPhone 5s. You cut the work right down hugely. And this is my model for optimizing websites. I do my groundwork, I do some basic modeling, I'll get some qualitative inputs if they're available, and then I will do a much more detailed analytics model. But what's happening here is an interesting thing, because the data is meaningless in itself. Data-driven is kind of a bullshit term, because information doesn't tell you what to do. You are the lens through which the data is interpreted. And there's a really interesting article about this. But if at this point, after doing the device work, you look at doing your qualitative research, well, you're going to do an expert walkthrough. So you're going to do it with the screen resolution in the device that the customers actually use, not the one you have on your desk. You're going to do usability testing, but you'll test it on mobile because you know that 80% of the traffic is mobile. When you do your device and browser testing, you won't test everything because you know that only 2 devices convert really, really badly. So you just cut all that work down to that. And when I do my qualitative research, it will then tell me information that will allow me to go back to Google Analytics and narrow my quantitative search. So what's happening is the qualitative helps focus the quantitative, and the quantitative helps focus the qualitative, and it goes round and round. It's a symbiosis. You can't do one without the other. So at this point, you can do all sorts of interesting things. You can go and actually test the devices like I do to find where the bugs are. Desktop testing is there. Mobile and tablet testing is there. Amazon's at AWS. They've got a device farm in the cloud. Oh, you want to rent a Kindle, an iPad, an iPhone? Oh, you would like an iPhone actually in Brazil, and you would like to visit the Brazilian App Store and install an app using that phone? So you could remote control these devices across the internet in the cloud. They're real devices sitting in a rack somewhere. It's an awesome service. So there's no excuse. Buy the devices, get them. This is a mobile device. This is called Open Device Testing Lab. They're based all around the world. I think there are a couple in Finland. You go there, it's free. They've got all the devices. You test your shit, and then you leave, right? There's no excuse to not test customer devices anymore. And this is your minimum viable testing list. When you go to test your website, do all of these as a minimum. You may have others to do, but if you do not do this minimum when testing A/B tests, testing new code that goes on the website, then you will make really bad mistakes. So use a smaller iPhone, have an S7 or S8, not an S9. Use the latest version of Chrome and Firefox, Microsoft Edge, IE 11, latest version of Safari. Find a recent iPad and a recent Samsung model of tablet. That's it. That's all you need. Go out next week and buy this shit so you have it in the office. But now, it gets even better. And the reason for taking you through this model and explaining it is because you need to automate it now. And I don't want to do all that boring shit every week. So you can steal a starter grid. It's a template for multi-dimensional performance analysis within Google Analytics. So this is what I stole to make mine. But you can also steal my grid. It's all there, and it shows you all the metrics and dimensions I collect, and that's a really good starting point. If you want to run one report on a new website you haven't looked at before, run a grid. Even better, I built a product to do it. It's called Profit Grid, and it's a multi-dimensional funnel tool. You go and choose your view in Google Analytics, what countries and channels you like, and then you can put in a funnel, and you can describe what the steps of the funnel are. And what this will do is it will take that data and it will pull all these metric cubes, but then dimensionalize them. Oh, so you want all the e-commerce data, but you want it split by iPhone models? Yeah, we can do that. You know, you'll even get a funnel for an Xbox out of this. And for some people, that's significant traffic. And that's actually what one looks like. And so I could look along the e-commerce conversion rate or the page views or time on site or bounce rate, and I could look at them by channel. So I've got a PPC funnel, an SEO funnel, I've got a direct funnel. This stuff is cool, and it helps me analyze in ways that I don't normally find in Google Analytics. This one little bug here, where we saw an issue in the early part of a funnel on a travel site, it started 1 hour of testing work that nailed an issue that cost £2 million a month. It was worth, once we worked out the final loss, it was more like £900,000 because people booked on another device. £900,000 a month is nice money to have, though. So there's a complete pack here for automating all of this. Build your model using the Excel spreadsheet first so that you understand it and you can work out what your site is like. And then once you've iterated it and tuned it and got it working right, that's it. Automate it and run it every week. Because even if your site's working this week, your developers might fucking break it next week. So you need to keep checking this. And you can mail me or Peter here for any suggestions and stuff. But you don't need to write code to go straight to Google Analytics API. There's a free Google Sheets add-on, so you can automate stuff without even using Excel. And there is a really useful guide to getting started, really naughty guide. I don't code, but I can use all this stuff. And then there's a dimensions, metrics, and query explorer that will help you form API queries. There's an explanation of how to automate Google Sheets. And there are a couple of tools here. Analytics Edge, which is a brilliant tool. Charles uses it all the time, bristling with options. Supermetrics as well, also very good. Power BI, if you want to do a multi-country pivot table with multi-dimensional funnels. This is fucking way cool. Next Analytics, Canvas, and Citalana are also available. Less people kind of use those. But this is it. This is the whole thing that I've run you through today, kind of step by step, the building it, the using it for qualitative research focus, and then the automation. So starting with some sort of basic grid tells you what's up. Then you can focus the follow-up testing and research that you do to find what's wrong. Then, once you've actually iterated this a few times and got a sweet little model going, you can completely automate it. So it's just one click. And then keep iterating that because your browser percentages may change. You know, new models come out all the time, and you need to be aware if people have actually broken stuff. And there's a lovely quote from Mandelbrot here, but it reminds me of, I need a macro and a micro view. We're all looking at the high-level averages on the site, and that's good. But what's happened down here in shit creek of iPhone? I need to zoom down into here. I need the helicopter view, but I need the tiny view. And it's really important to see both because optimization feels like this to me. People say to me, our business isn't showing the right KPIs. We need our KPIs to look different. Well, it's like someone saying, my watch doesn't tell the right time. You know, how do I fix the watch to tell the right time if I don't know how the fucking watch works inside? So you need to understand this is a big cog, this is a little cog, this is a magnifier, this is a dampener. If I don't understand all the relationships of the gears in here, how can I make the watch tell the right time and show the right KPIs that the client actually wants? And it's because it's difficult to solve a problem that you don't actually understand. But the issue at the heart of this is you're discriminating against people. And it may not be intentional, but unintentional discrimination, you know, is not any better as an outcome for the other person. It's okay, I wasn't meaning to be racist. It's not a good way of getting that one across. So if your fonts are too small on your website, or the contrast ratio between fore and background color, or the fonts are very thin, or you haven't checked them on a device, what are you saying to all the people with fucking glasses and contact lenses? You're saying, fuck you. We don't want your money, people who wear corrective lenses. You must have perfect eyesight to use this website. What about people who have Macs and you don't test on Safari and you've never checked out? You're like, oh, you fucking cool guys with lots of money who have enough money to buy a Mac and take photos of your Mac from the air with coffee on nice stained table. Fuck you! We don't want your fucking money either. And then what about, oh, there's some over 50 wealthy guys that own several classic cars and have loads of property, but fuck me, they use Internet Explorer 11. Do we want their money? No, fuck you as well. And there's an even better one. I mean, let's just go global with discrimination. Because if you don't test on Android in some of these markets, you're fucking discriminating against poorer people. How evil is that? It's awful. You're just saying, fuck the world. We don't care that you can use our site or not. We don't care enough to actually test it. And that's what this slide was. It's the amount of fucking money these companies were losing every month from these bugs until we found them. And nobody called them up about them. So it's gold. It's a gold technique. Use it on your site. You might not find anything, but you may find the mother lode. So it's about ending this. It's about ending device discrimination. Accessibility isn't about screen readers. It's about audience fucking reach. That's the important thing. It gives you massive reach making it work. And device testing is an activity that's boring, but it drives customer delight and profit in really magnified ways. So do me a favor. Go back to your offices and help me end device discrimination today forever. Thank you very much.